This is a pea yellow unicorn. This is the one keyboard that has ended my long-term relationship with obsessively buying and upgrading keyboards. Why does the unicorn matter so much to me? This is the Singa Unicorn R2.1. It's not a tofu. I know it looks like the E-yellow tofu. Please stop calling it a tofu. You're hurting my feelings. It's a 60% keyboard made by Singa. It has a drop-in friction fit gummy O-ring mount, very similar to the Bakaneko. It has FF4 plate and aluminum plate options. It may have a brass plate option, but I'm not going to bother going back to check the product listing because who in their right mind would enjoy a brass plate? This keyboard is highly sought after by many people for its simple design, but primarily the big ass weight. Look right here. That's a unicorn. It's not only for show, however, it does have an effect on the keyboard sound. We'll get into that in a minute. I know you're in awe. You're confused as to why I have an E-yellow tofu keyboard. Let's stop with that. It's a unicorn, okay? How I ended up with a yellow unicorn. Singa was still doing first come, first serve. They did, however, take out Apple Pay because it was kind of a cheat code for checkout, but I'm not gonna get into that. They dropped 2 drops of Jaguar TKLs, an aluminum one and a PC one. I was in the hobby for all of those. I missed a few, I hit a few. When I started in the hobby, I had some friends locally that had nicer boards. One of my friends bought a unicorn and one of my other friends bought a Keyco 160. I tried both in person and I thought that I really liked the Keyco 160. I did my trades. I was able to trade a keyboard for a Keyco 160. I used it, didn't really like it. So I realized that the one I really wanted was the one that got away, which was the unicorn. So I chased after the unicorn after that. And unfortunately, the aftermarket price before it was hyped up was around $700, which is pretty reasonable, but it started spiking up to 1,000 plus. So when Singa announced that they'd be doing an R2.1, that was my chance. The tough thing about this specific sale and this specific vendor is that Singa is in Malaysia. So sometimes your bank freaks out and asks you for authentication via text. That is a death sentence. If this happened to you, you will miss the drop. And if you call your bank and tell them, hey, I'm gonna be buying from overseas, please don't block my card, they're gonna tell you, oh, don't worry about it. Respond to the verification when it happens. They don't understand what first come, first serve is like. The fast nature of this process gave people an idea. What if I get a less desirable color, we'll have a better shot? Well, this is a technically sound idea, doesn't always work. Obviously, E-white is the most desirable color because it matches with most keycap sets, especially the lighter pastel-y sets. I personally wanted something heavy, so I didn't want PC. Purple and green did not match any of my keycap sets, so those were thrown out the window. I decided to throw it all on the line and go for E-white. Time for me to tell you a story. It is Singa Unicorn R2.1 drop day. Mech Group Eyes has just announced that the in-stock sale is later today. This is due to some dumb kid begging them not to post it. Of course they would. You don't ever call in and ask. You just wait and hope for the best. We all start getting nervous, but we wait. It was then 5 minutes to drop time. I prepared my body. I started saying my farewells to my discords. I told my friends not to PM me. I turned off notifications. I lit a candle to put myself in the mood. 3 minutes left. I pulled up a world clock to make sure I was set. I checked my Ethernet cable, connected to my fiber connection. I closed all tabs, all software. Opened the Singa website. 1 minute left. Now we start the refreshing. Refresh too quickly and the website will soft ban you. This is dangerous. It takes precisely 6.9 seconds to clear and restart. One misclick and that's another 4.20 seconds. Time is of the essence. 30 seconds left. I start refreshing. I have rhythm. Refresh. Deep breath. Refresh. Deep breath. I repeat. 5 seconds left. My palms get sweaty. My heart rate reaches an astonishing 169 BPM. The milliseconds for the start reloads start to make my anus clench. 0, 0. It is now. I refresh. What? It is still down? We're now in overtime. Everyone is now on the same page. We all have the same shot. I blink and the page loads. I see the dropdown. I panic. The default was not E-white. Time slowed. I clicked the dropdown, clicked E-white, and checked out as fast as I could. This was for everything. This is my endgame keyboard. Order. Confirmed. I relax my clench and I slouch into my chair. I now have a quick moment of PNC. What have I just spent? Andy, you said you got E-white. You're obviously holding yellow here. Do you think we're idiots? There's more to the story, which is why this video took so long to make. I received my E-white board. I built it multiple times with hybrid guides on aluminum. And then inks on palm half. After using it for a few weeks, I noticed something odd. The E-white is starting to yellow at the edges. I clean it with soap and water. Nothing. I clean it with isopropyl alcohol. Nothing. I ask around, it seems one other person is having a similar issue with their E-white unit. I reached out to Elaine and she graciously offered to refinish the board for me. She asked me to coordinate with the other customer and see if we could come up with one color so we can both get it refinished. I look around and I was thinking of some kind of gray, some kind of blue, but I had stupid friends that kept recommending yellow. Get it? It's yellowing, so just make it yellow. I thought they were idiots, so I just kept asking around. The other the guy wanted purple. That didn't make sense to me, but because we had a shot to make it any color, why would you make it a color that was already offered in the buy? I go to Elaine and I ask her for advice. To my surprise, she also suggested yellow. Damn it, now I have to make it this bright ass yellow. Unfortunately, the other dude didn't want yellow. I don't blame him, it's ugly. Why did I pick yellow? Well, I was over 1.5 years into the hobby and I got tired of trying to make the perfect looking keyboard. At this point, instead of just doing it for fun, it was not my job. I was so jaded that I would rather just make a dumb color that I knew no one else would make. And so yellow it was. I shipped my corn away and for 4 to 6 weeks without it, it finally arrived at my front door. A stunning yellow that really stood out and was a statement piece. Now, at this point, I didn't know the yellow tofu existed. I thought this was gonna be very unique. Then I showed it out to friends and of course they're assholes, so they linked the tofu and I was like, oh my god. I made a tofu. It's the exact same freaking color. So now I have a 6% keyboard in endgame and it looks like one of the accessible boards from KD fans. No offense to KD fans, I love Way, I love the store, I love the community, but this is a unicorn. Oh my god. The irony is so painful, yet also fully encapsulates my experience in the hobby. I just take it in stride. This keyboard is amazing. It is slightly better than the Bakaneko due to the weight, really pulling out any hint of the hollowness. The finish is stunning, and the Bakaneko will never match this kind of finish because the Bakaneko is cast aluminum and it's painted. The weight is also a big showpiece. Like, this is why you get a unicorn, to look at it. Of course, it's facing your desk and you never see it, but it's there. Fortunately, I brought it to my meetup with Big Euro and well, everyone kept pee-pee touching the weight, so now it has patina. Smudges everywhere. I don't know why everyone kept picking it up. Like, did they expect it to be light? It's okay. Now this board has history. The gummy O-ring isn't flexible per se, but it has a slight bounce to the typing experience. I like this board over the Keycaps 160 because it doesn't sound as boring. That's a gasket mount board. It pops way more, and I ended up on a pretty interesting sound. Carbon fiber typically makes things clack. Gummy O-ring typically makes things clack. Gateron inks are not clack, especially these Gateron Ink V1s because they're a little my old style, which is stem and housing, and a little bit heavier, so it's a little bit deeper. It's a deep ink sound. But when I put in this board with the carbon fiber plate, Gummy O-ring is right in the middle. Clock, thack. Surprising, it has stayed the longest without rebuild in my collection. My Gateron inks on palm half should have been endgame, but the alphas sounded thuddy. I do think this keyboard sounds cleaner with a full plate like this carbon fiber plate right here. That ink on the aluminum half of my channel though, that keyboard may be one of the goats. In terms of the hyperglide on aluminum, that hurt my ears. I do like the fact that it's for standard. That's for my selfish reasoning that I like to use fake arrows, which makes the right shift up, alt left, win key down, right control to the right. That just helps me in programs where I need a lot of arrows, such as Adobe Premiere, to make these videos. And in terms of the differences between this R2.1 versus the R1, it didn't have a daughter board. So you can drop in the PCB and plate assembly very easily and swap very easily. With the R2.1, you definitely have to unscrew the weight so you can disconnect the JST, but because of that, I kind of just build it and leave it. So why is this keyboard endgame? For me, it's a combination of good features and scarcity. It doesn't have all the features I'd want. Plateless and low front height would be amazing, and there isn't 1,000 units available any given moment. As of now, it's the only yellow unicorn R2.1 that was made from Singer factories, so it's definitely rare. The history I have with the designer in the Discord also makes it spark more joy. I enjoy Singer products, I tried the Jaguar, and Elaine has been very kind to me as a person. With all that, I've learned to love the unicorn for what it is and not nitpick it for the things that it is not. My girl keyboards when I started were between the Keycaps 160 and the unicorn, and I've been blessed to have been able to use both in my house, and I've decided that I personally like the unicorn package better. Also, I didn't pay flip for this board. That makes a huge difference. With the extra weight and PCBs and plates, I've maybe spent 500, a little bit more USD. I'm okay with owning a keyboard at that price. There's definitely a sense of guilt if you buy a keyboard aftermarket and use it, no matter how much you love it, at least for me anyway. And that's gonna be it. Sorry this video took so long to get to, but hopefully you learned something about my mindset and how I arrived at buying a keyboard that sparked enough joy for me to no longer want to buy keyboards every single week. I still love testing keyboards, I still love reviewing them, but as for my personal collection, the yellow unicorn R2.1, this is it, chief.